Nabi Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam spoke of a time which would come in which he said there would be great liars who tell great lies. So beware. So there is official history. Is it only a record of events, false or true? Or is history more than that? Is there such a thing as the beginning of history? And will there be such a thing as the end of history? We, in Islam, we have our answer. But let's first look at the answers that come from others who say that they have the truth. There are hundreds of millions of Hindus in the world today, and hundreds of millions of Buddhists in the world today. And they say that history moves in cycles. And when one cycle ends, another cycle begins. And so history is constantly moving in a cyclic way. And that there is perpetual rebirth. We are born and we die, and then the cycle begins again. We are reborn. They call it reincarnation. But they do say that it is possible to put an end to that cyclic movement of, they call it Janam, and then another Janam, and then another Janam, when you can achieve what Gautama Buddha called Nirvana. For the Hindu, the human soul achieves perfection and is then reabsorbed into the great soul. This one he calls the Atma, and that one the Param Atma. So your history ends with your reabsorption into that great soul. And in the case of Buddhism, when you achieve Nirvana, and then you will no longer be reborn into the world. But even though they believe in cycle after cycle, the Hindus are of the view that we now live at a moment in time when a cycle is coming to an end. A cycle cannot come to an end without a validation of Hinduism's claim to truth. And because Hinduism is a religion that is specific to a particular holy land, they have the concept of a holy land. And they call that holy land Bharat. Is that the truth must triumph in Bharat before the cycle ends. As a consequence of this philosophy of history, we see an impact on politics in India, where India began, the Republic of India began as a secular state and is moving constantly towards a state which empowers Hindu nationalism. And the movement towards a climax of history when Hinduism will triumph in Bharat. But you also have Christianity and Judaism and Islam in the world. And then you have one more actor in the world which has become the dominant actor on the stage of history. It came into the world fairly recently, whereas Hinduism has been in the world for thousands of years, and Judaism for thousands of years. This fellow only came yesterday, but already has occupied center stage. Modern Western civilization. The culminating point of history for Christianity, the supreme moment in history for Christianity, was when وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ هَذَا, when God incarnated, took human form, and appeared on earth in flesh and blood in the person of Jesus alayhi salam. This is the golden moment in history. And after that, every subsequent moment of history recorded downward movement, that mankind is moving downwards. Linear movement, regressive, going down. But there is going to be an end of history, says Christianity, when God will return in the person of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And when he comes back, he's going to come back to Jerusalem. And so history will end in the Holy Land with the return of Jesus alayhi salam. And that return of Jesus alayhi salam would validate the Christian claim to truth. Before Jesus can return to the Holy Land, most Christians agreed that the holy state of Israel will have to be restored. So when they saw an Israel born in 1948, most Christians have come to the conclusion that this is the holy Israel of Nabi Dawood, the Prophet David, alayhi salam, and Nabi Sulaiman, the Prophet Solomon, alayhi salam. And that it is as a consequence of the restoration of holy Israel in the Holy Land that we can now conclude that we are close to the end of history, and that the return of Jesus alayhi salam is close, it is at hand. This has had a profound influence on foreign policy in the United States of America. No less a man than George Bush was conducting the foreign policy of the United States of America based on this vision of the end of history, and that Muslims are the obstacle in the way for the triumph and validation of the Christian claim to truth in Holy Jerusalem. We now come to the Jewish view of the end of history. That in the same way that the Hindus hold the view that they are a chosen people, they are the elite of mankind, the Brahman, so too the Jews share with the Christians this belief that they are the chosen people of all of mankind. and that heaven is reserved for them. That the golden age of Judaism was that moment in time when the prophet David, Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, established the holy state of Israel. And that holy Israel ruled the world from Jerusalem. And that his son, the prophet Solomon, Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, built the temple, the masjid, and took that Israel to its supreme position of power in the world. This was the golden age when the Jews ruled the world. And history cannot end until that golden age is restored. That a promised Messiah, divinely promised Messiah, will come. And when he comes, he will rule the world from holy Jerusalem, from the state of Israel. And this will bring back that golden age. And this will be the validation of Judaism's claim to truth. Modern Western civilization is a very curious creature. It emerged in history in a very mysterious way. Did this happen by accident? Or is there an explanation for the emergence of modern Western civilization? Modern Western civilization has as its foremost thinker and scholar presenting its view on history in the person of a German philosopher of history whose name was Friedrich Hegel. And there's a long line and a straight line from Friedrich Hegel to Francis Fukuyama. Hegel was of the view that history proceeds and history advances with the emergence of a thesis which is then challenged by an antithesis, opposites. And the clash of the two results eventually in their being synthesized, coming together in a synthesis which represents advance of civilization. And so mankind is constantly moving in a direction which is progressive. The Christian view was regressive, going down. The Jewish view is similarly regressive, going down from the golden age. But this Western view is linear, straight line, but progressive, advancing. So every age that comes supersedes the age which came before it. And every age that comes represents advancement in human progress. And since modern Western civilization came after Judaism and Christianity and Hinduism and Buddhism and Islam, the implication is that modern Western civilization has synthesized all that came before it and has now advanced beyond traditional religion. A new world has come now beyond old time and old-fashioned religion. And so modern Western civilization is of the fervent view that religion has now been superseded. That religion, the religions of the world, are merely tolerated, but they have no role to play in what remains of history. The religions now exist in the museums of history, including Islam. And so a new world emerges, a world of politics, where modern Western civilization presents to you political philosophy, a political system, a model of a state. And mankind is required to abandon all that they had previously, including the Khilafah, and embrace this new model which has come from modern Western civilization.